Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and in this classic review, we're going back and we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero Grunt. Yes, this is the O-ring, this is the swivel arm. I do not have the straight arm. As I've mentioned, I am not about collecting both. I really don't even like the straight arms, but if I have a straight arm and I haven't acquired a swivel arm, then obviously I will deal with that. So anyway, we're going to take a look at this guy. I've always liked Grunt. I always thought the M16 was a little too small even as a kid, but hey, you know what? They were toys. We let our imagination run wild. I didn't even have a problem comparing it to the Leatherneck when he had the big one with the 203, or is it just called an M203? I'm not sure. I don't want to upset anyone, but either way, we let our imagination run wild. And yeah, a quick story about this figure, and not even my story. A guy that I grew up with, Dave, his mom used to babysit us. He was a year older. I think I might have talked about him before. He never cared for action figures. He didn't care for skateboarding. He was a sports guy, but you know, we grew up together. We were friends, and this was the only G.I. Joe figure he ever got. This is the only one, and he bought it because everyone else had one, and he felt, you know what, I want to see what they are. Again, he's a kid. It had a gun, it had a little backpack. So anyway, this was the only one, and I don't understand how you could have your mom buy this. And I remember wanting and trying to get it from him, and he wouldn't give it up. Like, he refused to give it up. Like, he's like, it's the only one I have, and even though I don't like him, he wanted to keep him. I don't know, how could you ever get one of these figures and just not be like, more, more, more? Because that was me for sure. Anyway, we're going to take a look at this guy. We're going to go over design, see everything that he came with, and, well, just see if there's anything we may have missed. But I've talked long enough. If you like this type of stuff, you like these classic reviews that I'm doing, going back in time, looking at these old G.I. Joe things, because, hey, you know what? It takes you back to a better place, a happier place, great memories with your parents, your sister, your brother, whoever. Please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop one of these wonderful little classic videos. Now let's take a look at it. Alright, so here's our Grunt, and I gotta say, I believe this is one of my earlier figures. I would say it's probably not the first one that I had, but I do believe this is one of my original ones. Again, I must have gotten more figures as their thumbs broke, because most of my original ones were I know I had straight arm figures, but these are all swivel arms. So, alright, so quickly what we'll do is we'll take a look at the accessories. And we've seen the helmets before. They're all very similar right here. Okay, so we have the little hole here. That's an earpiece. But again, it was also used for the visors, for the binoculars. They came with Steeler. And the helmets all just fit perfectly onto the heads. Alright. For the most part, you didn't have too many issues. They sat where they were supposed to. Here is his M16, which, let's be honest, I feel like there was a lot of these that were acquired over the years, right? So you have the nice handle here. No trigger guard, which is absolutely fine. It has the straight magazine, not the banana clip there. You can see where they put the safety on it. A regular stock, it's not supposed to extend or anything. Your nice long barrel, and then your iron sight right there. And on the side, they kind of do the same thing. Again, the technology and the detail that they were doing, as nice as it was, putting what looks to be a safety on both sides. Well, maybe that's not a safety. Huh. I don't know what that piece is right there. Looks like something broke, but I don't remember there being anything on this. Anyway, nice looking gun. I always thought it was small, even as a child. Alright. And then we have the very tiny backpack, which I always thought this looked like an envelope, and it actually does. But when you look at this, as I'm looking at it now, it's not just like symmetric. It's meant to look like it's cloth, like it's kind of just sagging down. You got the little clasp right here to hold it, and then you have the straps to hold this down, and then you can see where you can open it up, and then a couple little pouches right on the side. But tell me if you ever saw that as an envelope, because it always looked like an envelope to me. And even right here, You can see the way it is meant to look like it is. It's just not solid. So they tried to put like little riffles in it and everything, like a real backpack would have. And then on to Grunt. So as we've mentioned before, we see a lot of the same heads over and over and over. Looks like I kind of probably need to clean that up a little bit. No big deal. They used a lot of the face sculpts. They always change the eye color, hair color. And one thing I haven't ever pointed out is that the eyes, eyebrow, and the hair I believe are always the exact same color. But again, I think they nailed the eyes for what they could back in the day there. Just a little dot right there, and then they just had a little piece, a little paint right over it. Look at how good those eyebrows look. You know, you got this wonderful hair that they tried putting some sort of detail, but it was always soft right on the top there. And then looking at the buck of this figure. So you have a knife right here, the painted sheath, and then you got your handle right down so you can pull it down, and the pineapple grenade. A couple little pouches. You gotta love the brown, but this little piece here, just this little loop, so you can hide it underneath it. So this isn't gonna ride back and forth and move around. It's detail like that that I never noticed as a kid. Obviously, you have that wonderful collar. Here you have a nice painted green pouches just on the shoulders. I'm not sure if they really had pouches like that back in the day. All right, so you have these suspender type things, and then you're going to run into this Y, and then you have the belt that runs across, and you have the belt loops. 3 belt loops here. No belt loops on the front. I always thought that was funny. Or I think it's funny now. I don't know if I always did. And then you have the Hasbro logo. So there is one of the early Hasbro logos there. It has an H with the little house in front of it. You can see I have a cracked elbow. I never noticed cracked elbows, so it started getting pointed out to me. You have the cuffs right here for the long sleeves. There are some short sleeve figures. And then you just have the regular hands. And even on the fingers, you can see where they sculpted the separate fingers, which I think look really nice on it. All right. You have the pouch here on both sides. Now, they didn't paint this. Some of the figures, they would paint the pouches, just like some they'd paint up here. And I think some they wouldn't. All right. You got your boots run all the way down. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a pouch there or what that is. It looks like it's supposed to just tighten up around the boot. And I wouldn't say that these are more buckles than any type of shoelace. But even here, I pointed this out in another one. You can see the detail. This is supposed to look like a ruffled pant right there, kind of just tucking right into it. As for the articulation on these figures, I know we've gone over this before. They can only look side to side. Their heads do not go up and down just yet. And it is meant to stop, so they cannot do a full 360. You can always have a perfect T-pose on almost any O-ring, and without not having to have a real shoulder, this thing spun anywhere you need it to. You have your swivel arm battle grip, and then you had arms that did a 90-degree, no wrist swivel, which is perfectly fine by me. For back then. Today they should all have it. You have the O-ring. I can tell you I recently replaced the O-ring, and it can swivel back and forth. Not going to get a great Jean-Claude Van Damme without probably breaking that crotch right there, but these were meant to sit like that in a perfect L form. And then there you have his knees. So this guy's going to be able to sit on different vehicles, on different things. And again, this was the magic of this era of toys. I don't think that, I mean, if I hear someone complain about this, I mean, this is you just complaining to complain. This is the 80s. This was the best toy line in the 80s, bar none. You may not like it as much as some others, but it was by far the best in my personal opinion. And you can see how easily he stands. You can get them into some running poses if need be, and you can even at times get them into a kneeling pose. Not always the best or easiest due to them wanting to kind of fall over. But you were able to do it, as you can see. So there you are. That is the G.I. Joe, I almost said G.I. Joe Classified. The G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero O-Ring Grunt Swivel Arm. Alright, so there you go. That is the classic review of the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero Grunt. Yes, this is a swivel arm. I actually have a straight arm, now that I'm thinking about it. He has a broken hand. So he was sitting on one of the vehicles. That's why I don't see him too often. At least I think it's a straight arm. Either way, I don't care. You've seen enough of these videos that I've done where I've shown what the straight arms look like, and what's different on them is just a waste. But anyway, this is Grunt. I always liked Grunt. The Classified Grunt is just an amazing figure, way better than it deserved to be. I look back at this guy and I think he was what everyone needed. Sure, he was a Grunt. A lot of people thought of him as not an army builder, but just a regular figure because he was called Grunt. But that's who he was, right? Okay. Anyway, there you go. That is your O-Ring Classic review. If you like this type of stuff and you're like, hey, you know what? This just takes me back to a time. I sit back for 10 minutes and I get lost and I get to just remember what it was like being a kid and what it was like when my dad would bring home a figure. When I went out, I spent the weekend with Grandma and Grandpa and they took me to the store and they said, hey, you know what? You get to pick out a toy, and you picked up G.I. Joe. That's what these videos are all about. Just looking at some of the detail, but just reminiscing about how much easier life was before bills were not just someone that you knew. It was something you had to pay. But I'm going to get out of here. You stayed this long. Take a second. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review like this. Now, don't go anywhere. Right up here, I'm going to leave you a link to the Ram Cycle review that I did. And down here is going to be a playlist of all the classic reviews that I've done. Take care.